Watch out!
Another week, another opportunity to get excited as information seems to be coming in fairly regularly. Pokemon Legends ZA is on the horizon, and we're all clamoring for any little reveal that could give us some insight into what the game will be like. Will it be a Switch 2 game? A Switch 1 game? A dual release? Will the setting take place in the past or the future? Maybe both? Will we really be strictly confined to Lumio City like they say? And if so, what the heck does that actually look like? Is the city dense enough to craft an immersive world? Will we see the catacombs? Can we take to the sky? What's the new battle gimmick? What will new Pokemon look like? How will Megas fit into the story and gameplay? Will the graphics and performance even be good? And will this entry evolve the franchise half as much as Legends Arceus did? So many questions, so many, and yet so little answers so far. But what if that changed? What if we finally started getting some answers to keep the hype cycle going? Well, that's what people are expecting from two places soon. One being the Nintendo Direct in September, and the other being the Pokemon World Championships, taking place this week. Two events, fairly close to each other chronologically, and rapidly approaching as we blast through the year. I've done some digging, and I want to share with you what to expect from these two events. What will we likely see? Well, first, let's tackle this Nintendo Direct slated for September. In case you didn't know, Nintendo has given us Directs every September for the past few years. This September will likely be no different. As Zelda Echoes of Wisdom releases towards the end of the month, we'll probably see one last deep dive into that before it comes out. We'll also see more of Mario and Luigi Brothership, as that will be in our hands by November, which effectively takes the time slot a mainline Pokemon game would have filled this year, so that's interesting. I'm sure there will be a couple new games announced, with at least one of them being something for us to genuinely look forward to and be excited for, but the real gem we're almost certain to get in the Direct is another trailer for Metroid Prime 4. Prime 4 was revealed not too long ago in June, and like Pokemon Legends ZA, it's slated for a 2025 release. If you'll remember, the original reveal trailer was actually lacking something significant, a signature of Nintendo reveals, if you will. Yeah, it was missing a showcase of a new major gameplay gimmick, something like Demon Slave from Bayonetta 3, like catching Pokemon in real time with Legends Arceus, like possessing enemies with your hat in Mario Odyssey, or even like all the crazy new things you can do in Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. September would be prime time to showcase the new major gameplay gimmick of Prime 4, so that we can have all of our jaws drop or whatever. Now that being said, I'm sure you're wondering about Pokemon. Where does Pokemon fit into all this? Well, Pokemon isn't usually featured in Nintendo Directs. They typically do their own thing with their own Pokemon Presents presentations. However, that's mainly when reflecting on mainline Pokemon, and even then, there have been some exceptions in the past. I do think we could still see a Pokemon spin-off game, at the very least, get shown off and released this year. And even though it's becoming increasingly unlikely, the closer to the end of the year we get, it's still totally possible, especially if it gets a release date of December. I'm still holding out hope, especially for a Mystery Dungeon 2 remake or a Pokepark successor. But alas, time will tell. Now, for mainline, I believe Legends ZA gameplay could be their big final reveal, but who's to say? Maybe you? Maybe you know something and can tell us down in the comments? If so, please do. Aside from the Nintendo Direct though, let's also discuss the Pokemon World Championships this week, as many fans are speculating Pokemon ZA news to come from this. Historically, yes, this event has given us some form of new Pokemon news every single year it's been held. I want to temper your expectations a bit though, in the sense that the reveals given to us at this event have always been extremely minor, and they've only ever been just one thing. They've also always had to do with whatever the newest game revealed is though, so you get a point for that. But the games that these minor info drops were for were games that we'd already seen gameplay of, such as new Mega Forms for X and Y after that had already been revealed, and even Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, and new Pokemon like Cyclizar for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Again, all of these games had already been revealed with gameplay before these events. So there's a key difference here, and that's how Legends ZA hasn't had gameplay shown off to us yet. So the odds of seeing Legends EA have a reveal at the championships is extremely low, and I don't recommend getting your hopes up. However, this could be an opportunity for Pokemon to truly surprise us. Perhaps, even if they can't show gameplay, we get to see a JPEG of a new Pokemon or something. That really might be enough to get us fans excited and form speculation, especially if the Pokemon's design hints at some overarching feature of the story or gameplay. There's a lot that we could glean from that. Or perhaps instead, they can give us a first-time glimpse at a new Pokemon spin-off game. It really does feel odd to not have a spin-off title filling in the gap that Mainline is leaving behind this year. And I know I sound perpetually in doubt about not getting one, but that's because it just seems like the perfect way to hold fans over this year, and I can't imagine why they really didn't have one lined up in the pipeline. As I mentioned, we could see a remake of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Time, Dark, and Sky, or a Pokepark 3, or hell, maybe even ports. I'd absolutely spend money on ports for Pokepark 1 and 2. Those were some of the best Pokemon spin-offs of all time, right up there with Colosseum, XD Gale of Darkness, and the Mystery Dungeon series. We could also see an entirely new spin-off series pop up, much like how Pokemon Unite came on the spot recently, but again, time will tell. It really does seem highly unlikely that the Nintendo Direct or the Pokemon Championships will give us any scraps of Legends EA, and you know what? I'm still completely fine with that, as long as they're busy working on the game and crafting it to quality. The fact that the original reveal had no gameplay really does lead me to believe that we're dealing with a Switch 2 title here, and if that's the case, we literally can't see gameplay until the Switch 2 itself is revealed. I truly believe we won't see either of these things until 2025 at the earliest. I could be proven wrong, I really could, and I don't know, maybe a little part of me hopes that I'm proven wrong, but looking at previous trends for Nintendo and Pokemon, these are all the most likely conclusions I've come to. But we are also living in an unprecedented time. Pokemon hasn't broken their release schedule in about a decade until now, so as far as we know, everything could be up in the air. Anything is possible. If you have some crazy ideas or even some not so crazy ideas, please write them down in the comments. I would love to talk about that with you guys. In the meantime, check out more of my videos about how things are really looking up for Game Freak and their quest for quality control, like this one here where I discuss all the new roles that they're hiring for right now during their hiring spree. The link is right in front of you. I've been johtojonny, and I'll catch you all there.